Hey everyone, so today we will be talking about my voice. I've currently received no professional voice therapy. I'm currently just through self-learning and self-teaching based on what I've seen through the internet for about 1 to 2 years probably of voice training, but the bulk of it certainly has been in the past 6 to 9 months probably that my voice has made significant changes. But tomorrow I will be starting voice therapy, so I'm thinking it will be nice to be able to document where my voice is at now, my history with my voice, and I can perhaps revisit it in another video after I've completed all my voice therapy. My current voice is dependent largely on two things: larynx control and tongue placement, and I don't exactly know what they mean because I've learned them so long ago. Basically, I've learned to exercise my muscles so that my larynx is kept up, and I guess there's also a bit of muscle that pulls it back, and then there's also tongue placement in my mouth, making my the cavity of my mouth a smaller space. Helps a lot with resonance. At least to my knowledge, I'm nowhere near an expert, and I certainly will not be doing voice lessons. As far as what I want to work on with my voice, it's largely surrounding resonance and consistency. I'm fairly comfortable with my pitch of my voice, and I don't feel it's an issue for me at all. I'd be very comfortable with having a low voice even if it was gendered feminine. Resonance is one of the primary components of how a voice is gendered, and it's a part of my voice that I'm not especially confident in. Sort of the reason where you can get very low voices that are gendered as feminine and very high voices that are gendered as masculine, and it's the reason why if a masculine voice talks in a high pitch, it doesn't necessarily make them sound feminine because they still have a masculine resonance to it. As far as consistency, I want to work on my voice in a way that prevents it from being strained when it's overused. When I talk for very long periods, especially early in the morning, I can get a very strained voice and I can sort of start to lose it. And I also feel like I need to overcompensate for the wear of my voice and drink an excess amount of water compared to what I normally would. And I just want to make sure that I'm speaking in a way that's sustainable for my voice and for the muscles that I'm using to speak. And I think voice therapy will help a lot with that. I also have reflux, which I recently learned. I previously thought that my voice would quit and I'd get a lump in my throat, but I've recently learned that that's a reflex response, and I'll learn, I guess, what that sort of is and how to treat that, hopefully. The program also has the aim of teaching me how I use my inflections, so that may also change. Inflections can be a significant part of how a voice is gendered, and I'll learn more about that, and I'll see if I continue with inflections in how I speak. There's other parts of the program that are quite outdated. They have a dedicated day to language and word use, and they'll sort of sort various words and language mannerisms into being gendered as male and not to be used, as well as stuff with body language as well. I guess if there are some people who wish to change their body language, that works. I've never been bothered by my own body language. I've always felt it's been generally quite feminine, and if there are masculine aspects of it, it doesn't bother me. I'm not the most feminine person, so I'm quite comfortable with having masculine elements to my presence. My voice, at the beginning of my transition, had been one of my strongest points of dysphoria. Even before I was presenting female, it's just genuinely something I was most disgusted in myself, and I hated the sound of. Probably most distressing is that it had been the strongest deterrent of my transition and the thing that I was most insecure about. My voice dysphoria strongly fueled my avoidance behaviors, and I would very much avoid entirely phone calls. I would withdraw from events or be unable to attend them, or be incredibly anxious attending them because of my voice, and I was worried about how I would be perceived, and I would hate hearing it, even if I knew other people weren't bothered by themselves. I was entirely withdrawn from any sort of conversation because I was hyper-focused on how my voice did sound and how it was very displeasant to me. It also interfered with my classes. I avoided speaking, answering questions, talking to teachers just because of my voice. Even when I was in social circumstances with friends, I was too withdrawn on my voice to be confident speaking, or if I was confident speaking, hearing my own voice would remind me and sort of send me out of the conversation and not be able to actively enjoy conversations. I was made to believe that my voice would never be pleasant or passable, and that even if it was, it would be a constant and deliberate effort every time I did speak to sound that given way. I was also made to believe that if I had to focus on my voice and controlling my voice at all, that it made me fake and inauthentic, and therefore also made my personality and me inauthentic. It fed off a lot of my other anxieties, and it made me very overwhelmed because I was always present and listening to my own voice when I had a lot of other things to focus on as well. But what I was made to believe wasn't true at all. Me speaking right now is my resting voice, and while there's a little bit of effort into my pitch because I'm continuing to work on it and continuing to train my voice as I do speak normally, it's nowhere near a constant or a deliberate effort. It's more so of a subconscious thing, and it would be very difficult to speak how I used to. Ironically, I was a lot more focused on my voice when I hadn't had it trained at all, than when I actually had been training it and had been trying to sound and present feminine. The largest points in finally accepting my voice were largely through others' recognitions and notes. There was one time I had to call customer service and I had to use my dead name, and they had made me repeat it a few times and had made a comment about how they hadn't heard of a woman with that name before. I guess even if I had presented to other people before, I had felt that they had used other context clues, and I had never felt that my voice could be considered passable in that respect. So that was largely my first experience knowing that my voice was passable. And even just contacting friends about it and just discussing how it made me felt and having it as a milestone. I had learned that previously my voice had been good, but I hadn't been able to hear it in myself, and gradually over time I had gotten a lot more comfortable with it, and I continued to, I guess, subconsciously work at it, and it continually got better even if I wasn't actively practicing it. I'm happy with my voice now, and I'm happy to continue working on it. My voice doesn't feel like a safety risk to me. If I'm talking on the street, I'm not worried about how someone will perceive my voice. I'm also comfortable personally with how my voice sounds. It doesn't make me extremely dysphoric. There might be times I don't like hearing it. Definitely when I'm rewatching my video, I will be displeased, but not in a way that makes me dysphoric for sure. So it's really incredible to be at this point with my voice and to be able to continue to work on it. And I largely just want this to be like a statement to all, I guess, the earlier trans girls who are working on their voice, that it's not some impossibility to have a voice that does pass. I had a very masculine voice, and I had people comment about how my voice would never pass, and I had largely internalized that. But the voice is really fluid, and there's a lot of ways it can change, and I'm only at a sort of half point in my voice. I don't know how common the belief is, but I've never heard anyone else talk on it. I want to set it clear that once you do train your voice, it won't be a constant and deliberate effort. You can naturally speak and have your voice rest and not be constantly stressed or hyper-focused on it. And you can be comfortable with your voice. I hope this was helpful. I hope it was entertaining. I very much value it myself in being able to document my own experience. And if you're wanting to follow along with my journey or my transition, you can subscribe and hopefully follow along and see what my voice is after, see how my transition continues. And thank you for watching.